Welcome everybody to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Sjokz and I'm joined by Drakos and Rekkles. Hello, Rekkles.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
It's great to see you, even though it is, remotely, of course. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations on the 3-0 week. Super impressive. And we've been talking about the fact that Fnatic doesn't always start as clean or as impressively. So how do you look back on how these games went and getting the 3-0?
I guess other than game one, we did really well this week. So that's not only surprising, but also I think a good sign from spring, where I feel like we kind of ended on a bad note. So I was a bit worried for everyone's mental, I guess, how they would feel going into summer. So I'm happy to see that everyone's still feeling like hungry for success, or maybe even more hungry now than before.
Yeah, why do you think it is that you were able to start better than in previous splits? Maybe it's because there was such a continuation seemingly from spring?
I honestly think we're just tired of losing to G2, so all of us just really want to win now. And I think it's good that, we just get the wins on the board so we can really focus down on what we want to do as a team.
Yeah, that's good indeed. Did you want to ask something, Drake?
Yeah, I think just generally, I'm really curious, like, you're talking about the team all still feeling very motivated and very focused on G2, but how about for you personally? Because I'm really excited by the idea of the Syndra, by the idea of the Soraka, that your champion pool is constantly expanding. And I'm jumping to conclusions already, but my conclusion is it just feels like you seem more motivated than ever to just like kick ass in the bot lane. Is that a fair conclusion?
I guess it's a fair conclusion, yeah. I have grown tired of not being able to play everything, so I'm really trying hard now to be able to bring more to the table than just my AD carries or whatever AD carries are meta. I feel like it's just it's time for me to be a better player than that. So it's been a goal of mine basically as of late.
You do mention at the beginning of the interview, well, I'm tired of losing to G2. Is that also playing into that fact of, I know I can do more, so I'm just going to try and do my absolute best because I know that we can beat them?
Yeah, it's partly like, I feel like we can beat them, but it's also partly like, this is like my prime time to win, sort of. Are you still there?
Yes, you're still
sorry,
there.
We're getting a little bit of lag here and there.
We got it, I think. Can you count to 3?
Frozen screen. Welcome to Triaging Tech Issues live in the post-game
lobby. You're used to it. We lost you for a second. He's going to come back, but it's interesting that he says that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And I just really love kind of the positivity and optimism that's coming out of the Fnatic members, because I think for a long time, especially in the first year of the LEC, it was kind of, it didn't feel like Fnatic was always on the same page. And while like we heard really great inspirational speeches from Bwipo, like we heard different things from different players, and now it feels like everyone is focused, everyone knows what they want to achieve, and that the mood in the team is really good. And you wouldn't call Fnatic an emotional team compared to some of the other teams that we've seen, but the fact that Rekkles, who's at times in his career has been like the silent, kind of like always felt on the outside like the moody type, to be so open, to be so positive, and to be duo queuing with Hilly, building that synergy, talking so highly about how all his team is focused on the prize. Because in the past, when his team hasn't been focused, he hasn't been afraid to say, I don't think we're putting the effort in. I don't think the team is putting the effort in. So to hear all these things is just really good news if you're a Fnatic fan, or if you're really excited for LEC at Worlds, because right now Fnatic are looking like the favorites.
Yeah, I hope we get Rekkles back. There's a lot we want to ask him about. We've been prepping for this one, but specifically maybe about Drive. Let's first take a look at these highlights from the game versus XL, which XL actually did pretty well in this game and kept themselves in there. But there is that inevitability about Fnatic, right? And I think it hit again here. Yeah,
and I think XL, while they had, I think, a really clear goal in mind with their composition, is another situation where unless they got really, really far into the game, the execution had to be on point. You really had to maximize the value out of the Vladimir, especially in these team fights. And while I think their head was in the right place, giving a lot of the early game agency to Kadril, one of the most established players on the lineup, it didn't really pan out. In part to Hylissang's Tom Kench, but I also have to give some credit to Nemesis. Syndra is the absolute terrifying pick right now, the S-tier flex pick, and he survived very well. He was willing to take the back foot in the lane phase. He went early Merc treads. He kind of sacrificed himself let himself be that point of weakness in a very difficult matchup to then be an absolute threat in the team fights, and was never really a liability. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it is also cool to see that there's been a lot of inconsistency over the 3 days, and I think that's logical because it's the beginning of the split. But Rogue and Fnatic have been the two teams that got that 3-0. Now you can say, of course, for other teams, they had harder schedules here and there. That is true. Who from this weekend has caught you off guard in a positive or negative way?
I mean, a lot of teams have caught me off guard. That's what's so crazy about week 1 and also this super week format. When you look at the standings, Rogue 3-0ing, surprising to me. Fnatic 3-0ing, also surprising given their history. But more importantly, I think the teams that really have caught me off guard, and probably caught everyone off guard, is Team Vitality and SK Gaming. These are teams that I expected very little from, to be honest, and I think it was fair to do so. Of course, you could argue that Team Vitality get a clean slate because they had so many issues with their roster last season, but you wouldn't have given SK that same benefit of the doubt. Now here we are with both teams looking 2-1 and against some big name teams, not just, you know, other bottom of the table teams, big established teams that we expected to be hugely dominant here in week 1.
I'm particularly happy for Vitality. We know quite a bit about kind of the infrastructure behind everything and how they approach everything. We had a talk with their performance, or rather talent development coach, I should say, and they put a lot of thought into these lineups. And I think often when they don't do well, we then just gloss over and it's like, oh yeah, it didn't work. But there's always a lot of work that goes in it, and I'm glad for them that this is panning out. For now, obviously, again, we have to temper. It was only the first 3 games, but
it felt like they were cheated of a fair start in spring due to visa issues and whatever really held them back from fielding a roster. So it's good to see now that they can actually field the roster that they want to field without limitations, that it is working out. We'll have to see, but it is a much more positive note than we saw in the past.
Yeah, I think we have Rekkles back.
We do.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello. We can hear you indeed.
Yeah,
let's pick up where we left off. We were having a conversation amongst ourselves, but we were talking about kind of your renewed drive and this and that. And I think that's especially impressive for how long you've been playing, because many of your contemporaries and players that have also been playing that long often cite the fact that motivation is a real issue. We have the double lift example, of course, of a couple of months ago, but there's more like that. What have you found helps you to keep that motivation in a time where it's not always necessarily easy?
I think not winning all the time actually helps a lot with that. As I said earlier, like, I feel like we can beat G2, so it really helps with my motivation to get to another finals against them before. You never know, like maybe I don't play anymore, or maybe their roster breaks apart, or our roster breaks apart. I really want to do it now because I feel like now we can actually do it. I don't want to wait until it's too late, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, when we talk to G2, they always mention Worlds before anything in EU. And you guys could actually do the same, because with you and with Fnatic, you've been in that World Final, and that is obviously always a goal. But it seems to me that now you seem to look just forward as far as you have to for now, which is G2. And then after that, of course, Worlds is back there. Is that a focus that you make intentionally just to keep your eye on the prize here for these few months?
Yeah, I think when you're winning, it's easy to just look at Worlds all the time and kind of forget that there's competition here in Europe as well. So as I mentioned, like losing to G2 over and over has kind of put me down a little bit to realize that I really want to win in Europe as well and be like the guy with the most titles and all that. So that ties into then wanting to do it now when I'm still here and our roster is great and the competition is great. It just feels like a good time to start winning again.
Rekkles, historically, when we talk about kind of the Fnatic lineups, while you guys have always been super successful, there's always been these stories about, and we've talked about it as well on Euphoria and such, about kind of these Band-Aid solutions. We've had these miracle runs at Worlds where week 1s will fall apart and you guys will put it together for week 2, but then we hear months later it's like, we put it together, but we honestly don't know how. What's different now about this lineup that even after a really difficult 0-3 loss to G2, everyone stayed positive, everyone stayed motivated? Is it something to do with the relationship that you guys have as a team? Is it the individual members? What's really different now about this Fnatic to some of the Fnatics where there might have been kind of more drama in the past?
I feel like if anything, there should be more drama now, because one of the biggest reasons as to why I think we're better off now would be that we have Oscar and Alfonso. I think they're just really straightforward as people, so they figure out a lot of stuff that we'd normally just leave to be. Not to say anything previously was wrong, it's just when you put a group together, I think you need some people that just like pull the group and some people that try to stay out of the groups, or stay out of the way of the groups so they don't make too much issues. Like, you need a good balance of everyone. And I felt like last year maybe we had too many passive people, so to speak. So it's nice now to have someone like Oscar and someone like Alfonso who just kind of says straight out, hey, this is wrong. And then we fix it.
Yeah, that's also someone that you can obviously respect very easily. Another question about like infrastructure and living. The evolution from going from full gaming houses where everyone lives and trains is now, I think, abandoned by a lot of the teams, or it has changed a lot. And I know you were one of the first people, I think, to have your own place and then go to the training room. And now that's for, I think, everyone in Fnatic. Can you look back on that change and how you think that has helped your and maybe the players' mental state being able to make that break?
I think in the beginning of my career, I didn't really think about it at all. I just kind of played the game, so it never came to my mind. But after a while, I realized there's more to being a pro than just playing the game all the time. So I started thinking about the other stuff, like basically sleeping, eating, trying to be healthy, all that stuff, so that I could play better in the end. And I felt like living on my own and having just more of a stable life would help in that regard. And I think more people have kind of joined in on that hype train.
I mean, that's logical. And I think that probably also connects to the fact that when you're younger, it's the same like when you go to a university or whatever. Sure, I'll live with 12 people in a house and like, I don't care. But when you grow older, you create your own habits and you need your own space. Why are you laughing? It's an analogy.
I just flash back to living with like horrible roommates. And I'm sure gaming house is the same way. You come in, you kind of clean the kitchen. There's like 30 dirty dishes that have just appeared. And like, it's even tougher because, you know, you're not leaving the house a lot when you're playing in these gaming houses outside of coming to the studio week to week. And for some of the teams that maybe are still playing in more house situations, I'm not sure how many we have in Europe.
I don't know what the situation is actually.
But COVID doubles down and makes it that much worse. So I'm glad people have transitioned out of that, and it could not have been, I think, a better time to do so.
Yeah, how have you been dealing with that situation, the fact that you've been confined inside, like even more than you usually would? I know you guys train a lot and stuff like that. How has that impacted your mental?
It was tough at first. I think the first couple of weeks were really hard to figure out sort of how to live life again in a different way, I guess. But after a while, and it also helps to be a gamer, obviously, it sorted itself out. So now it's more than fine, I think. It's just, I think it was tough on everyone just the first couple of weeks to try to figure out what we're going to do now, how we're going to adjust everything. But now it's more than fine.
Okay. I don't want to keep you for too long, but there's a couple of things we still wanted to ask you. First off, particularly because Mickey brought it up yesterday, is how G2 is taking a very serious look at the way they scrim and the way they approach these games. I don't know how you've approached the scrims in the past, but is that something that you're working on and changing actively, or are you guys happy with the way you approach scrims overall?
As I said a little bit earlier, like when Oscar and Alfonso came in, the communication or the way we tackled issues just became a lot more direct. So I think this year's scrims have just been better than other years I've scrimmed. So I don't really feel like we've changed anything between spring and summer, because I think we already did a really good job in spring when it came to scrims. Maybe individually we have changed a little bit, but I think that's just for the better then, because we probably all realized individually what we did wrong to not be able to win the spring finals. So we've worked on like some individual issues, maybe like in my case, for example, my champion pool. But I think in regards of how we function as a team, having Oscar and Alfonso here being so direct about everything has really helped our progress together.
To dig a little deeper into that relationship, because it seems like that's really important to you and how well the team is functioning now. Do you feel like it's like that they can be the lightning rod for conflict, and they can be the ones to say the hard truths without jeopardizing some of like the personal relationships between you and your teammates? Because while everyone wants to be professional, it's hard to hear, hey, you screwed up here, from someone that you have to play with on the Rift.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make it seem like it's all perfect over here. It definitely isn't, but I just think even if you're going through something tough, or even if you hate each other for a couple of days, in the end, it's better to just like get it out, so that when you come into the big games, you already have gone through the hardships, sort of, instead of having them laying right after. And I felt like in many previous lineups I would play, we wouldn't deal with the issues, sort of what you said with the band-aids earlier when it came to Worlds and stuff. And then afterwards we'd realize, well, there's 50 issues here or 60 issues here that we have to deal with, and we didn't. So I think it's just better to go through the hardships during the split, because anyways, it's all about getting to playoffs. It's all about winning playoffs and going to Worlds and doing well there. So I think it's good that you do it during the split, so that when it really matters, you have like the most optimal performance of your team, I guess.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Great to hear your insights. Moving on, we're also, of course, as per usual, tracking the Kia player of the games. You can always vote at LEC on Twitter. And I think we're going to check in with the leaderboard. And currently leading the pack is SK's Crown Shot. We've got Perks, Hilly, Comp, and Larson. Unfortunately, no Rekkles there. But Hilly got the praise, so I guess that's good too.
All I'll say is...
That's good enough for me.
I was going to say, because you let him play Blitzcrank, you were denied getting 2 players of the game. So it's your choice, essentially, that he's up there. That's all I wanted to point out.
I don't care at all. It's all good.
What can you say about Crown Shot, who's been absolutely killing it with SK and who's been around for a while, but is finally seeing kind of his, I don't know, everything coming to fruition for him?
I mean, I guess we talk about him quite a lot here because we have 2 of his ex-teammates, right? So it's like someone we actually talk about in the team, and we've always kind of thought he's like a good player. So it's nice to see now that he can actually show that to everyone else as well.
Cool.
I think, yeah, fantastic to hear, because I think he's the guy that, it's good to hear that your teammates kind of rate him highly. He's a guy that flew under the radar.
Probably meme him a bit as well.
Definitely meme him a bit as well, especially from what I've heard/seen on the old LS streams. But yeah, it seems like it's mostly a bannerish relationship. Kind of as a last question, Rekkles, I think it's always hard for us in the broadcast to gauge how much week 1 means in the scheme of things, because we don't have scrims, right? So for us, it's 3 games, but when you're 3-0ing and Rogue is 3-0ing, it's very easy to jump on the hype train there. There's a lot of teams at 2-1 that we maybe didn't expect to be there, like SK and Vitality. Who do you think that we should be really looking at in these weeks? Who do you think actually got the right start? Like, are SK and Vitality really this insane? Are Misfits really this lost? Like, what do you think is true out of week 1 that we should really grasp onto?
The only thing I can say for sure is our strength is true, but I guess that doesn't come as a surprise. I feel like we showed a lot of good things in spring, so to me at least it's not surprising that we're showing some good things now as well. But I would say it's hard to take too much from week 1 because you don't know for sure. Like, we're one of the first leagues as well to get going, right? I think we had LPL a couple of days before we started, but it didn't really like have a meta in place, or the game didn't really have a meta in place. So it was hard to know what you needed to play to be successful, and I felt like everyone just came in with their own idea. So I think maybe now in week 2 or week 3, you will see like clearly who are here to stay and who are here just because they found the right solution for week 1.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's see what we will see next week and who might fall through the cracks. We have Fnatic versus Mad Lions, which is pretty exciting. That must be also an interesting matchup for you to play, because you never know what they're going to do, and they showed some crazy drafts today.
Yeah, it's always scary to go up against Mad Lions because I feel like they are a team that are willing to do a lot of things other teams are not willing to do. But at the same time, the last time we played them, they were really scared of us. So I'm not sure if that's something that's going to stick or if they're going to change in that regard. But I'm hoping that they are not, because I want to play a banger.
Yeah, I want to play banger. We want to see it. So this was special. We had 3 days of shows for everyone at home. We're going to have super weeks in week 1 and week 8 at the end of the split. Next week, it's back to Friday and Saturday. And on Friday, we'll start at 5:30 p.m. Now, before we sign off, Rekkles,
which screen for us?
You're not in the studio, so can we take a picture with you, because you're you haven't been here.
This is the ultimate fan moment, by the way.
I mean, this is probably the best.
Oh my God!
I like your guys' shoes. They're nice.
Thank you very much. We saw your selfie the other day. You're rocking the white shoes as well.
I mean, it's not that professional.
This is a wholesome community moment. I look forward to becoming a biased caster, but we'll take it.
All right. Okay. Are you ready? Oh no, the light.
Social distancing.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I love it. All right. Okay. Thank you for having fun with us, Rekkles. Thank you so much.
From us, that was all from us here from LEC Super Week. More League of Legends, though, happening with the LCS with Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves well underway. And here in Berlin, as said, we'll be back next Friday for more action. See you then. Bye, Rekkles. Bye, everyone at home. And see you next week.
That was one of the goofier things we've done.
Oh my word, it's actually happening. It's a Wukong support to start day 3. The Mad Lions might just be mad as they're taking on SK Gaming.
I'm going to be very, very excited for that one to see it coming as Rome comes into the back line here.
Trick is going to go golden thanks to the stopwatch, and it's just a matter of time Kaiser throws out the Cyclone. I'll give you some time to think about this. What does this mean after week 1 for these teams? Kaiser's gonna go in, get the Cyclone, get a multi-man knockup. Look at all of the AoE damage. Kaiser's still alive for now as the Rome ultimate is gonna Rekkles across, locks them down. Comes out as he engaged to multiple knockups. 1100 HP on the Dragon. He's inside the pit. It's picked up by Rogue though, and that was a fantastic shockwave. Rogue, although turning it around, there's so much damage on the Shulker. Trading kills back and forth. Hans Summer's gonna clean up house.
Yeah, just wait till Hans Summer lands 1 Q and it's all over.
Yeah, definitely. Hans Summer.
Wait.
That's a lot of damage. It's not done yet. Isai Rotov's death warrant, but he's still alive. Inex is looking to get a second. He gets a double kill. The lifesteal, the death stars. Poppy's running him down. The Emperor's Divide will not be able to lock anyone against the wall. Flash over the wall from Xerxes. He's running for his life. Destiny's dead in the back line. Dos did not die.
To make it, but here comes the pain train from the backside as we can see Cavachard trying to get on towards them. Quarter of the Forge God comes out, but Cavachard and Melita are just ripping through the backline. It's not even about comp anymore. The shockwave on Patrick flashes away from it, and they're going to try and turn on to Nemesis, but the flank comes in from Rekkles. In the pit is self-made. Patrick, there's no way you survive this. Rekkles takes him out. Now it's Cries and Torre versus the world, but Torre is down. A triple for Rekkles, the famine for Fnatic.